Hey guys, Jay here, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you guys 5 random cosplay tips for beginners. So let me preface all this by saying this is just a random list. There is no order, and I just literally wrote these up randomly. There's on a list randomly. I did really no thinking as far as which ones go where, so it doesn't really matter. And then the other part is that I will be doing more of these. This is not the only like 5 random or whatever. Atlas and I are going to be doing some when we go to SakuraCon, so we're going to be like in the hotel room also doing one of these videos, so be prepared for that to come out after the convention, which is in April. So yeah, this will tie it over until then, whatever else I make. Anyway, but let's get right on into this list. So random cosplay tip number 1 is to be prepared to spend more money than you think you're going to need. This really, you might think that this is a no-brainer, but a lot of people actually do this. Like they overspend and don't realize it, or they underestimate, and then it costs a lot more than what they wanted to spend, and it frustrates them. I've done it a couple times. It happens. So just be prepared. There are things like, let's take L from Death Note. He's a good example. Both of his pieces on his outfit, which are his jeans and his long sleeve white shirt, you can find those at a thrift store and spend max of like $10 to $12, right? Well, what happens if the thrift store just so happened in your area to not have that shirt? It is a long sleeve shirt, and what if it's summer or like the end of spring? They're getting rid of their winter items, so even if they have them, they're going to be pulling them, putting them in the back, and waiting until winter to sell them. So, and I know this because I know people who work at the local Goodwill over here. So I do know that they do that. So I'm assuming other stores do it too. But it's possible, and you might not find that long sleeve white shirt if you're going to a convention in the summer and you happen to start your costume in the summer because you think, it's 2 pieces of clothing, I can buy these the week before the convention. Well, the week before the convention, they might not have any. And then you might have to go on Amazon and buy a brand new one, which will cost you a lot more. So if you didn't think about that, you're going to be spending more. So a new one is probably going to be around $12 to $15. Maybe $20 depending on where you get it, and then shipping if you don't have Amazon Prime or whatever, however you get it. Walmart might not even have them either, because I have searched at Walmart during the summer for long sleeve shirts. Not happening. So it is possible to underprice everything or underestimate, and then not have enough money when the time comes, and because you can't find them for the cheaper price. So always assume that you're going to need a lot more than what you think. Even if you're going and you're like, well, I know that these shirts are around $15, and the pants, if I bought them brand new, they'd be around $20. So you're looking at like $35. Well, have $50 maybe, or $60, just in case, because you never know. And if you don't spend all of it, that's more money you have. And if you do spend all of it, then you know that you made a good choice in having more money. Alright, on to random cosplay tip number 2. So, this is also a no-brainer, but people don't do it anyway. Think small, or start small. Don't be that cosplayer who has to have the giant League of Legends armored guy at your very first convention for your very first cosplay. You don't. you just don't. I mean, if you want to and you can do it, go ahead. No one's stopping you. That is awesome. I would love to see someone do that for their first try and nail it. That person, if you're that person, then props to you. You are amazing. That is not everybody though. So a lot of people will kind of raise their expectations of what they're gonna do, basically. If that's, I don't even know if that's how you put it, but they'll want to do that super armored character, maybe Iron Man or something, and they'll realize closer to the con, when they're working on it, they'll realize, oh man, I can't do this. This is actually a lot harder than I thought. And now they don't have a costume. So they don't have, and now they don't have the money to buy a cheaper costume. So you always want to think small if you think that you might not have that chance to be that awesome character. So always have a think small character or a start small character ready to go just in case. So what I would do if I wanted to do Iron Man, I would have maybe a Tony Stark suit cosplay, like as the cosplay I'm going as, to just as a backup, just in case I don't finish Iron Man. So that's something you could think of. So like if you do like L, like in the first thing, like what I was talking about, if that's a character you think you want to cosplay, and then you also want to cosplay Iron Man or a Gundam or League of Legends guy or something, and you don't make it in time, you have that L cosplay as a backup, and that's just in case you don't finish. So it's always good to have that small cosplay when you're starting out, because then at least you have something. So that's really the point to drag away from this, is you have something. If you didn't finish your big thing and you didn't have a small thing, you don't have anything. So if you have that think small character or start small character, whatever you want to call it, your easy character, I guess, your easy character, then you at least have something, and you can build that other one while you're doing the small characters to start out, so that you can get your presence out there, especially if you want to make like a cosplay page or something like that. It's good to have something to start with rather than having the best thing and waiting until you have that best thing. It's always good to have some starting and show that you're making progress on this stuff, and it's just a good idea. So always start small if you can. Sorry, that one went on for a little longer than I thought, but that is one that I personally failed at. So anyway, we're going to be moving on to random cosplay tip. God, I'm getting that messed up. Random cosplay tip number 3. Read and watch tutorials carefully. Like, I don't know how much more I have to say this to people. Nobody reads tutorials anymore. And when they watch them, they don't watch the entire tutorial, or they'll start the tutorial and follow along with it. And it's like, watch it first, or read it first, or at least read the material list first, you know? But a lot of people won't read the material list until they're making it. Then they're like, oh, I need this. They have to stop it, go get whatever it is, you know, things like that. And it's like, just read the list, watch the video all the way through, maybe once or twice before you start the project. You want to make sure that this is even made to your standards. So that way you know what you're making. When you read it and watch it carefully before you start the tutorial, before you start making it with a tutorial, then you know what to expect. You know, these people will say, well, I'm going to be using this here, and this is how I'm going to use it. And then you can test that piece out. You can test that thing out that they're doing on some scrap stuff and see if you can do it. And if you can't, you might need to move on to the next tutorial. So just read carefully and watch carefully. Watching is probably more likely, because a lot more video tutorials are coming out rather than written, and it's a lot easier to follow. So I don't know. Anyway, but I mean, if you guys want to see any of my tutorials, you can find them in the description below. But so you can see how I do it. But if you want to make anything that I made, you might want to follow the tutorial very carefully, because I do go into detail in these things. And speaking of self-promotion here, or self-plug here, I will be putting out a tutorial soon. It's going to be a Poke Flute tutorial. I don't know if you can see it over there on my shelf, but I made a Poke Flute, so that's going to be coming out in the next couple weeks here. I'm going to be putting a tutorial out for that. I'm making another one, actually, a second one for Atlas, so be prepared for that. Talking about tutorials, I might as well put it in. Anyway, so let's move on to the next one, and that is random cosplay tip number 4. Read reviews carefully. Now, a lot of first-time cosplayers are going to buy their first costume. They're not going to have it commissioned, or maybe they will. Mine was. They might have it commissioned, but it's still the same as buying, I guess, technically. But they're unlikely to make their first cosplay, which it should tell you a lot right there. You're going to have to know what you're buying and who you're buying from. So if you're buying, you're going to need to know this stuff. So eBay is a good place, Amazon, things like that, where you can buy pre-made costumes. And I'll just say this now. Don't assume any of the eBay or whatever. Don't assume that they're going to make your costume. They won't. Those sites that are like anime, cosplay, game, whatever it has a million words in the title. No, you're not getting anything to your measurements. So, I mean, you can send them your measurements, but they're just going to give you whatever they feel like. What they do is they take your measurements and then they go, okay, well, this is similar to this. So our size medium will fit the shirt measurements, and our size large will fit the pants measurements. Here you go. That's pretty much all they're going to do. They're not going to make anything for you, regardless of what they say. And they put that in there because you can't prove it, basically. But there's enough evidence to back up this claim. So just be careful. When you're on eBay, anything with less than basically a 98.0% positive rating, don't touch it. Those are the ones who are going to be the least likely to give you even something in the same color. I've seen a lot of reviews where people have gotten things nowhere near the same color. Like they'll order a blue thing and get a green thing. It's like, it's not even close. You didn't try. Like how'd you mess up green and blue? You know, even colorblind people can see the difference between a green thing and a blue thing. So you got to just read carefully, and don't just read the positive and neutral either. Read all of the negative ones that you can get your hands on. So eBay will cut off at a certain time, after a certain time period, and you can't really read. You can't read what they bought. You can't read anything else. So it's not really worth it to use eBay sometimes. But if you're commissioning somebody, there are a couple places that you can do that. You can see reviews on. It's a little harder, but I'll try to explain this, and there'll be links in the description for this as well. It's okay. So it's a little confusing, but I'm on a site called Cosplay.com. Now, there's a marketplace on there where you can get things commissioned. You can talk to people, and it's all the ads are posted by the people who have accounts on that site. And usually we're all cosplayers. There's a ton of good commissioners on there who have good reviews. There are some with bad reviews, but there's a lot with good reviews, and they are very nice people. It's the best place to get commissions, if you can. But there's a lot of people who are out of the country, so it might be a little more expensive. But anyway, so we have a commission review, like Subforum. Like there's a forum page where you can post on the forums. And then there's a subforum for commission reviews or product reviews, things like that. And so there's a specific one for commissioner reviews. You go in there, there's a couple threads. Excuse me. There's a couple threads, and I'll link both of them down below, like I said, where you can go and search up. You can actually go down to the bottom of the page, and there'll be a search bar. Or on some browsers, you have to click the button that says search this forum, and it'll bring up a search bar. But either way, you can search it for the name of whoever you're looking at commissioning. So if you go in the marketplace, go into commissions for hire, whatever it is, and then you go into their profile, you can copy their name, paste it in the search thing, and then search and see if there's reviews for them. So far, if you search my name, you're going to find all A's and A pluses. So I don't think I have a single thing under an A on there for a grade. So, and I can pretty much prove that. But you got to read those reviews carefully, because some people will get the review out before they actually put the costume on, or before they know what they're talking about. So a review might say something like, "Oh, this is exactly like it looks on the picture." Like, that doesn't mean anything. What if the picture doesn't look right anyway? What if you're the only one who thinks that looks anywhere near correct to what the character is? I mean, that's fine if you want it, but you can't say it's the best thing ever when it's clearly not. You know, that if they think it's the best thing ever, it's subjective. So you're going to want to know who you're buying from, basically. And yeah, this one was another long one, but just read those reviews carefully. It'll save your life. It'll save you tons of money, and it's a really good thing to do. Alright, so now we're on to the last one, random cosplay tip number 5. and that is, do not worry about being the best. Because trust me, you're not. I'm not, you're not, they're not, no one else is, no one is the best. There is no such thing as the best. No matter what anyone will tell you, nobody is the best. Yaya Han's not the best, Jessica Negri's not the best, none of them are the best. No one is the best, okay? So, don't try to make your costume in hopes that you're gonna impress everybody. Don't try to impress people, basically. Do you wear what you want to wear because you want to wear it, not because you want people to like you or because you want people to take your picture. People will take your picture if you're in a character. It's almost guaranteed. So, and people like me, I try to find the obscure characters and get video or picture of them because I like that, because that's some of the stuff that I do. I really like the obscure game series and anime, so I love seeing obscure cosplays. So that's incentive right there. If you want someone to take your picture, find me. I'll do it. But yeah, basically just try not to outdo people. And most people don't, but I've seen some beginning cosplayers who have that mindset, who realize afterwards, that was dumb, shouldn't have thought that, because they didn't know, not because they were trying to outdo people or trying to say they're better than anyone else. They weren't. They just thought that they would get made fun of for not having the character 100% accurate, or they'd get made fun of for cosplaying a character who people didn't know, or cosplaying their own character or something. No, you don't have to worry about that. Nobody cares. Trust me, nobody cares. So do what you want, cosplay what you want, as long as it's not specifically offending people. Like, don't wear a Nazi uniform. That's pretty obvious, right? Don't do things like that. And don't make fun of other cultures with a costume. Things like that are pretty obvious. You probably shouldn't be doing that in public anyway, type things. So yeah, that just, I don't know how many times I have to say, don't worry, it's not a big deal. Alright, so that is my 5 random cosplay tips for beginners and newbies, and all of them. And if you are a beginner cosplayer and you want more tips, be sure to check out the playlist that'll show up at the end credits, or whatever, the end card of this video, and I'll see you guys later.